Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sly Cooper Wiki. My name is Shrev, a bureaucrat on the wiki, and today we have the North American releases of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time in front of us today. That's right, the fabled Sly 4 that we almost never thought we were going to get. In front of me today I have the North American releases of both the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation Vita versions. Both of these releases were on the same day, on February 5th, 2013. Both of these games also made their way onto the PlayStation Now streaming service from PlayStation on October 14th, 2014. Starting off with the box arts, we see that both games are almost identical. The Vita art is cut off a little bit compared to the PlayStation 3 logo. For instance, we don't see this tower on the Vita artwork, and I assume there's a similar sort of trend with that castle tower, though we are able to see more of that castle tower thanks to the omission of that cross-buy notice. Speaking of which, this was one of the first games that was advertised for Sony's cross-buy service. That is to say, if you bought the PlayStation 3 version, you would get the free downloadable Vita version as well. You wouldn't get a free physical Vita version, you would get a free downloadable Vita version. And additionally, it didn't work both ways, in the sense that if you bought the Vita version, you would also get the PlayStation 3 version free. You had to buy the PlayStation 3 version either physically or digitally in order to get the Vita version free at all. Other than that, there's really not much else to say. The PS3 version did get 3D support, whereas the Vita version did not, for fairly obvious reasons, as this game was compatible with the 3D TV, whereas the Vita wasn't a 3D device by any means. Additionally, we also have a memory card notice here on the Vita version, as the Vita does require a memory card. Moving to the spines, we see that both are identical. Obviously, the Vita version is downscaled a little bit to accommodate for its size, but other than that, they are identical. It's worth noting that the PlayStation 3 disc ID here is BCUS 98247, while the Vita cartridge ID in this case would be PCSA 22130. So take that information as you will. Moving to the back, we see that aside from any sort of console exclusive specifications such as any memory card or hard drive storage requirements, or any sort of Vita features such as motion sensing or rear camera support, the descriptions here are the same, and the artworks of Sly, Bentley, and Murray, as well as Carmelita, are identical as well. Basically, there's a short description of what this game is about and where Sly and the gang are coming from, since at this point it had been 8 years since the initial release of Sly 3 and a little over 2 years since the Sly Collection's release. The screenshots you see here are mainly from that episode 4 mission that was featured prominently in the very first, at least I think, public demo of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time back in late 2012. And the second screenshot you see here is that boss fight that they showed off at E3 when Sly Cooper Thieves in Time was first unveiled with Sly vs. El Jefe. I did mention that these covers are identical. I do want to correct that very quickly. The description on the Vita version is slightly different than the PlayStation 3 version, in the sense that it does clarify that the PlayStation 3 version of this game is required and is sold separately. This isn't mentioned on the PlayStation 3 title, as it was implied that cross-buy would get you the Vita version, so that legalese wouldn't be required. Though it is worth mentioning that Sony has discontinued cross-buy for a while now, so if you were to pick this game up today, cross-buy would most likely not work for you. Other than that, there's really not much else to say here. It was developed solely by Sanzaru Games this time. No Sucker Punch logo to be found here. But other than that, really, there's not much else for us to look here, so we're going to move into the front. Moving to the inside of the box, and we see what was, I'm sure, a bit of a disappointment to many Sly Cooper fans, and that is the lack of a Thievius Raccoonus. That's right, folks, there's actually no physical manual included with the North American release. A bit of a spoiler here, but there are manuals in the other regions. We'll get to that in another video. As for the North American release, there is no physical paper copy of any manual to be seen here. With that said, they don't leave you completely high and dry. Both of these versions do come with their own digital manual that is accessible once you plop these in to your game, or alternatively, if you do have the digital versions, they will be available when you download the digital version. Additionally, the jackets themselves do have the controls of all three characters. So if I plop out the disc of the PlayStation 3 version, we see that there are controls for Sly, Bentley, and Murray showcased on 3 separate DualShock 3 controllers. Kinda convenient. Additionally, the Vita sleeve has a similar sort of thing. If you do pull it out, there is a Vita image as well as controls for the characters here. There isn't 3 Vitas, as it's fairly obvious here, but it does have the controls nonetheless. Moving to the actual disc itself, there's not much really else to say here. It is identical to the front cover, as you might expect at this point, and it does have that PlayStation 3 logo, and doesn't really have Sly on the front, and it's a disc. There's not much else to say because this game didn't really get multiple releases, as far as I'm aware of. But that's the disc for you in case you're interested. Pulling out the cartridge, and we see the same sort of dealio. It has the logo of the game and the background that was featured on the front cover. Nothing too exciting, but it's a game that you can play nonetheless. And with that, that brings us to the end of this unboxing video. Personally, as a huge Sly Cooper fan, it was a bit disappointing to me to see that there wasn't a physical manual included with these games, but I can understand that they did want to cut down the production costs a bit. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button. If you're new here and you haven't seen our previous unboxings, I do have a playlist linked in the description down below for your convenience. And if you want high quality scans of the disc, cartridge, and both the front and backs of both of these jackets, there will be a link in the description down below so you can view them at your own convenience. As always, if there's anything you guys want us to unbox sooner rather than later, do let us know in a comment down below. I will be unboxing the regional variants of this game, both from the PAL region as well as the Korea region. So definitely stay tuned for those if you are interested in them. They do have a few interesting things that this does not. Until then, this has been Trev from the Sly Cooper Wiki, your #1 resource for anything and everything Sly Cooper. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.